I picked up these hinges, right, and they're just basically going to go in here like this, and I'm going to have them come as far over as possible. Okay, and I'll just tighten it. Okay, so I got both hinges on. Okay, I'll pre-drill those, and then we'll attach them. Okay, basically, all I do is put in all these screws. This is the tool store drawer. And basically what I'm doing is creating a structure to hold these pipes. These pipes, right, will hold the tools then, right? So what I'm going to do is create a structure to hold these. And basically, this is what I have here, right? So I have this top piece, back, front, and inside down here there is another board. So what I want to do is align them, and I want to drill holes. And I basically want to drill holes for these to come through and hold. So first thing I'm going to do is line up the bottom piece with the top piece. And I'll put a couple screws to hold everything, and then we'll go ahead and drill holes for the pipes. So basically, I've clamped them, and I'm just going to drill a hole. And I'll put another hole here. Okay. And I'll drive some screws. These screws will just keep the two pieces together. Grab longer screws. Kind of use this tube as a judge and figured out where the center should be on each one of these. Basically just going to draw a line. Figure out the distance between the two, and I think we want to go 3. All right, if we're going to do it here, that. All right. So we're looking at about every 2 inches. So every 2 inches. 3, 7. Right. And I think we're going to forego this last one. Yep. So there's all our tick marks, right? 2 inches here, 4, 8, right? So we're going to come in the middle, kind of rough eye it. 4, 6. There we go. We got the grid, right? There's the grid. The pipe will fit in there like that, right? Boom, 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 boom. So what I'm going to do is kind of center this and just draw it so we can see. Right? Cut around it. Next one. So they are kind of close together, but I think that's gonna be okay. So what I'm gonna do is chuck up the Forstner bit into the drill press, and we'll head over and start doing this. I put a piece of scrap wood underneath everything because I plan to go all the way through. So, do this. And that just does not fit. Well, let's try to figure something out. I don't have the next size drill. Way too big. Okay. I went ahead and separated the two pieces, and I have the holes cut. Now, one of the things I think would have been easier to do, or my Forstner bit was a little bit smaller than these. So I don't know if I could have went to a bigger Forstner bit or whatever the case is, but they don't really fit in there real well. So I did a couple things. I tried sanding them over at the drill press, using a file. It was just really taking too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a straight bit in my router, and I'm going to freehand them just a little bit wider. And I'm going to go ahead and do this on every one on this top piece. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach this back to the base and then use the bearing as a guide and just make them all wide enough to allow this to go through. Tried a number of things. I tried putting this on the lathe and sanding it down, and it just didn't seem to work. The best seems to be just to go ahead and freehand it. And I'll keep going. What I'm doing here is I went ahead and I reattached this. Now, this screw here is a little too close to where the bit would be. So I did this bottom one by hand again. But now that I have the top one done, I can go ahead and we can route and flush trim to what I did on the top. Now, this doesn't look pretty. I would have found a better way to do this. This is me trying to correct kind of my mistake. And I mean, I could have sanded these or I could have filed them, but I would have been here till Christmas. So this is my solution. It works. It's shop furniture for me. So holes aren't perfect. They're not perfect. But I probably would have, if I realized this was going to be this much of a problem, have looked for a difference to start with, whether it was make a template and cut them out by a router or what the case was. Got a drill bit that was right on, or maybe even just a little oversized. But I didn't do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and flush route these. That's all I got to do. I just got to go ahead and do that to the rest of them. Okay, so basically I got the components for this, and I separated these two. Now one of them goes in on the bottom, and it just sits on the bottom. It doesn't really need, you could glue it, but it doesn't really need to. I'm going to try to build this, so if I need to, I could pull this out if this cart decides that it wants to be not a lathe station anymore. In the future. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get, right, these pieces go like that, and then that lines up like this, right? All right, and so I'll line up some of them, and basically this will kind of get glued and screwed into place. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab the screw gun, and we'll drill some pilot holes. Okay, so what I'm going to just do, kind of mark that, right? I'm going to drill some pilot holes. And drive some screws in the back. Okay, I went ahead and decided I do want to put just a little glue. I think it'll add strength. And I think I can still get the drawer apart if and when I'm done with it. And that glue will add some strength. Okay. Go ahead. I'm going to do the same thing to the front piece. Glued on both sides. I'm just going to run glue up here. Here. Okay. So now I can put this on. Up. So now that that's sort of lined up, or is lined up, I'm going to go ahead and drill some pilot holes here. Now I countersunk these. I didn't do the other ones because they're kind of hidden, but you can if you want. These I want to countersink because it's really going to be noticeable. You're going to see them every time you open the drawer. Okay. Let's see. Sure, everything is still lining up. And it seems to be. Okay. So now I can drill a pilot hole here. Okay, but don't think I'll be able to use that. Now that the tool holder drawer is done, I need to attach the top somehow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill with a Forstner bit, a little countersink, to accept a washer and a nut, and be up far enough where it doesn't conflict with any of the tools. So I'm just going to go in and drill. Okay. Right. And then that is big enough to accept the washer and enough to accept the bolt and have it up out of the way. Right? Okay. So now I want to drill an oversized hole in the center. So I'll take out the Forstner bit and I'll put in this bit. Now this is going to be an oversized hole that goes all the way through, so I'll find the center of that. Right? And so now, being a little bit oversized will allow for some movement at the top. And I'll do 4 of those. I'll do 1 back here, and I'll do 2 more on the other side. And those 4 bolts will be what holds that top on. Just going to go ahead and tape these up. Keep the dust out of them while I drill those holes. Okay, so I had to run out to Harbor Freight and buy a right angle adapter because I couldn't get my drill through. All right, let's go ahead and finish them. Okay, I went ahead, I put down on the floor the station, which seems so small once I get it down, but it's not meant to be a big thing, it's just meant to hold the lathe at the right height. So, what I have here is a bench top that I glued up. Now, what this was made of is we had a flood in our house. And the hardwood floor was damaged, mold. We couldn't salvage it as far as what needed to be done in the house. So I had them put it all in the workshop, and I basically skip planed them through my planer. They're relatively flat. I mean, they were already dimensioned. Took a couple passes off the top, enough to take the finish off. And then on the bottom, I took a couple more passes, just enough to take some of these grooves out. Lined them all up, glued them together, and wound up with this top. Now, this top is too big to go through my planer. So what actually I've done here is they were 3 sections that were run through the planer, and then I glued up the 3 sections. But there's a little bit of unevenness. I filled in some of these bigger gaps with epoxy. I knew this bench top wasn't going to really be very pretty, nicer than maybe just plywood. But the main thing it was going to do to this bench is add some weight. And weight is key to keeping the lathe kind of moving around. So what I'm going to do is I got a belt sander, and I found a 36 grit belt. It's kind of like little boulders. That's going to move off a lot of material, and I can flatten out some of these high spots and just kind of even it out a little bit. I'll switch to 120, and then I'll finish up with my orbital sander. So for this, I will be doing definitely dust collection. Like that. Hearing protection. This is 120 grit. 220.